How's it going, everybody? Man. I want to thank y'all for coming through. Man, tomorrow here. I want to thank y'all for stepping in on this Antonio Brown situation. Um, I knew that I wasn't supposed to make this live stream the night of or the moments after that he was actually released from the team. I knew that I needed to wait a couple of days later, so that way I was going to wait for something very specific for this individual to do something the moment, and I mean the exact moment that things happen. Whenever this individual gets caught up in things that is his own making, that it is his own fault. I wanted to wait for the entire moment that he wanted to blame Tom Brady, that he was the actual most valuable person on the team before he brought him onto the team. Like that's what I was waiting on before I actually did the live stream. And I did not, and I was not, and I was not assuaged from anything that I've said. So when you're actually looking at this individual, you're actually going to see that this is not a one-time thing. This is this person's whole track record. This is his whole track record. Was going from one team to another, to another, to another, getting around a whole bunch of people who thought he was worth something. To go from there to dropping off teams because of his own actual behavior, to hiding behind something that clearly could have been a CTE issue after he had that big hit in Cincinnati a couple years ago. This is not a CTE issue. Yeah, this dude is crazy or something wrong with him, but it has nothing to do with hits that he's taken and anything else. It has everything to do with how this dude acted on every single team he's been on. He wanted to be the primary focus of everything once he goes there. Let's keep this in mind. When he came to Tampa Bay, a lot of those professional players who've been on the team, who's probably better than he is, who put in a hell of a lot more work than he has, those people still had good numbers, and their numbers went way down whenever he came on the team. Now, this person, this person, clearly, that he claiming that he didn't get the ball enough or large enough or the amount enough that anybody else had on the team, that's the exact type of influence he had on the team once he got there. Nobody got the ball more than him. He re-altered the actual aiming pattern of the team once he got onto the team. When they could have clearly went on to better drafted players, players who were definitely far more in the gym, players who definitely didn't have the track record that this dude had, and everything else. But you need to understand that the Antonio Brown track record starts way before that. It started with the track record. The track record of Antonio Brown starts way before he got onto the Buccaneers. It starts way before the fake ID card for the actual COVID thing. It starts way before any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, we're not talking about Antonio Brown. We're talking about the Antonio Browns in your life. Like, I had a myriad of businesses before I had this one that was successful. I've had to ride out business after business watching the Antonio Browns attach themselves to far more greater better business minds than him and get far more chances than people actually would have in this entire life. I had to watch that throughout real life. I had to watch that throughout real life. Dudes like Antonio Brown get way more chances than people who actually did the actual things, made the actual connection that they were supposed to. But because his name was Antonio Brown and he attached himself to talented people, like this dude got way more shots and chances than anybody else had. And I'm telling you, as a person who's on the come up right now, you may not have yourself all the way together, but once you come close to do becoming able to pop, you are going to be running into Antonio Browns who's going to try to destroy your actual progress. Because what Antonio Browns do is not about the team that he's on. It's about the team that he's trying to monkey branch to after he get through destroying the current team that he's on. Because the Antonio Browns cannot stay in one place for one specific period of time for a long period of time. He can't do that. He doesn't exercise the ability to be able to do that. Because if he could, he would be on one team, be on that team for a specific period of time, be the number one receiver on that team, and move forward as being a member of that team until he gets picked up by another. But every team that he comes to be a part of, he has to be thrown off this team and thrown off that team. And it's up to everybody else to pick up the pieces of this individual to move them forward on other teams. You have to ask yourself, why is that the case? After grabs at the final, so that piece into the chat. Yes. You have to understand that. Why do you think that Antonio Brown could not have went to one specific group of people, became successful, and moved on from those group of people? As you know, I'm from Denver. We had the same problem with Bill Romanowski, several other defensive players who found themselves onto the Broncos. They went to another team, and they would be good on the team for 3 or 4 years, and then they would turn around, and then they would be kicked out of that group and be on to another team for another 3 or 4 years. Yeah, Antonio Brown is an everyday brother. Like this dude doesn't even expect to put all he has into one group of people. He expects to put everything that he has into the associations that other people have built up. So that way he could come through and throw all of his garbage onto your front lawn. So that way you could be able to carry this individual throughout life. Like in Antonio Brown's situation, he's a talented guy. But in other people's lives, you have people who are going through Antonio Brown's situation that are not talented people overall. These people have no talent whatsoever, but they expect to get top billing into your group that you've built and sustained yourself with your own track record. That's why this is such an issue. Because we've built an entire culture on celebrating the fact of people who shouldn't have additional chances getting plenty of it. I have cousins in my family, uncles in my family, like older cousins, 50, 60 something years old, who still have this type of mind state today. Just visiting them Thanksgiving, still begging aunts for Christmas money. We're talking about dudes who are 60 something years old asking aunts who are 80 something years old for Christmas money. Why? She had the track record to be able to retire, and they clearly didn't. You have to recognize that whenever I decided to have my first authority, you know what group of people was the first group of men who tried to come in and try to mess my whole thing up? You know who those people were? Older individuals, older than I was. It wasn't the youth who was trying to come in to make sure that I had a better business than anybody else. It was the older individuals who tried to come in and make sure that my business wouldn't be able to get off the ground unless I tried to save or rescue certain types of people to make sure that they got fed or served before anybody else. And this is the Antonio Brown situation. How many teams have you been on? How many circumstances have you been a part of? This dude have season ending, career ending things that are happening to this dude, and it's all centered around the same thing: mental health issues. Then once you realize, once the actual ideal things are over, that this dude was doing a hell of a lot more things that he actually got caught with. When he moves on to not being trusted by any other person or making sure he can't move on to another place. These things are not hard to pick up, but you have to recognize that other groups of people have already maligned and pushed these people out of their stead very early within their level of development. You have to recognize that these people who's trying to get their fourth, fifth, sixth win at 50, 60, and sometimes later 40 something years old, those are not people who deserve to have your actual place on your team. They don't deserve to have a place on your team, man. Sometimes, if your ass has been out there for that long, it's time for other older teams who's trying to rebuild their team. It's time for them to pick you up so that way you can rebuild their team. But these individuals actually want to actually come onto your team, expect a new rebuilt track record upon your actual things that you've produced throughout your life to be able to carry them on to the next level. I went back home twice this year. Once for the 25th class reunion and once for like the class for the actual homecoming. In both of those cases, there was the same group of people who was standing outside of liquor stores, standing outside of barbershops, standing outside of everywhere else, who was trying to tell the youth about how they could be able to live their life. It was the same group of people. The same group of people who didn't do anything in their life wanted to be the actual person who actually made sure that they had or was around the actual personnel who would take them the most serious in their life. Like, dude, the Antonio Browns are not in the league. The Antonio Browns have been left far behind by every other community except for ours. And since we reward failures more than people who've actually did things the right way, this is what you actually end up with. You have the actual bottleneck of people who's trying to move on to the next level with the actual lower generation not being able to have a chance themselves. So what you guys have to realize is that a lot of these people don't even deserve to be here because they can't participate in the conversation. So they say stupid ass shit so that way they could be a part of the conversation. So you have to realize that you wouldn't give this person the opportunity to be a part of anything outside of his track record. That's why they cut him. But they didn't cut him unless it was pretty much clear throughout the league that he wasn't going to be signed to another team. That's why they didn't cut him right away. If they would have cut him right away, he just could have been put onto another team. I think that Terrell Owens was the reason why he wasn't signed to any other team because Terrell Owens actually reminded people of what happens whenever you cut people inside the league. That anybody else could pick up a retired player. Like I think T.O. can still play, especially with these sorry ass wide receivers out there. I think T.O. can still score some touchdowns. He looked at pretty damn good in those scrimmages that he done on this channel. So what I'm saying is, so what happens when Anthony Brown gets cut? A person like Terrell Owens gets to come into the conversation about what he could bring to a team. But what about the draft picks and draft choices throughout the years who never even get a look because they're not T.O. or A.B.? What happened to those people? And this is what I'm saying, that you got to be able to work with those people until they become greater people themselves. Because those people still have the same level of knowledge, the same level of depth, the same level of aptitude that everybody else have. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are dealing with a group full of equals. Because if you don't learn how to work with equals, you know what you're going to be having to dealing with? You're going to be forever dealing with individuals who claim themselves to be the best out of the worst people to actually deal with in the first place. And this is why there are so many older individuals who are waiting on young people to pop so that way they can hope that the older people become the manager of the younger people. Not because they're better at what they do, it's because so that way the older individuals can stare the actual younger generation directly into the failure so that way nothing grows, which is the actual job of the older individuals themselves. They're not trying to see the actual conversation proceed past a certain specific point. They're trying to see failure proceed past a certain specific point, but not success. So you have to recognize. You've seen it if you ever played sports in high school, how the Booster Club members got way more touches on the ball than anybody else who had real talent. You seen the same thing in college if you ever went that far. You seen that with your own two eyes. It was not really something that you thought that you can connect the dots to, but whenever they pay for the shitty McDonald's breakfasts or lunches, depending on where you're actually traveling to or from, it was very clear what they were paying for. They were paying for their son to be on the team and that they started, and that the actual focus was on those people. As a person who took the stats for the actual team, they actually wanted to come through, make sure that, oh man, could you give me an extra half a sack or extra half a tackle? Like, dude, you have to realize that I'm not the only person looking at these stats. Other people throughout the state is going to be looking at the same stats too. So if they go to the Clarion Ledger in Jackson, they're going to look at the same game that I was looking at, and they're going to be able to see whether or not that my same stat count was what they counted. But see, people don't understand those type of things because when they're actually out for sale, they don't give a damn about what other people have to sacrifice in order to keep themselves on the team. And you've seen this. As soon as everything came out, Mr. Brown was like, oh, well, they couldn't win without me and they didn't need me on the team in order for them to win a championship. I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case. Because if they put those other people on the team, remember, Tom Brady won Super Bowls with Wes Welker. He won Super Bowls with people who were way less than Randy Moss. We're talking about a guy who put balls in the hands of people who are not that good of actually high athletic performers, but those people were in the place where they needed to be. But see, if you're in an Antonio Brown, you don't care about things like that. You just want to leverage your friendship with the highest people in whatever level of power that they're in to actually turn around and try to do you a favor with it. And a lot of people do fall for this, but I'm just telling you, like, bro, listen, it's far easier to deal with people of different cultures than to deal with people who can actually live up to the actual standard of this culture right here. I want you to leave their ass behind. I'm telling you this up front so that way you don't waste multitudes of years of your life trying to find equals. You find equals when your ass is at school. Even now, I think I still found the greatest amount of people that I could ever work with in the years that I was in the military and that the years that I was going to school. That is still the greatest number of high successful people that I could continually work with from one edge to another. It was still those people in those circumstances that was tried and tested just like I was, who had to manage the level of circumstances and association just like I did. Did you need high top performing people? Dude, listen, I've seen people go from community college of Denver, community college of Aurora, people who had most likely to succeed from Hensley High School, all these other things. Like all these things that I've seen, and these people didn't amount to anything. Most of the people who actually turned out to be the greatest thing ever were the people who graduated in the middle of the class but had the greatest association. It wasn't the fact that they was looking for the bottom tier people who had the greatest association. It was the middle tier people who had the greatest association of how the thing worked. That's why most of the people who worked at Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and all those people were even at all these schools in the first place. They were trying to find people to actually work in the actual defense industry from the actual classes that they were teaching. And that's why they were there in school in the first place, teaching those classes. They didn't give a shit about those classes. They would go there, pick out the top tier talent over par, and see if they could be able to work for our organization. That's why they were there. All the actual Cisco people who work there at the actual Community College of Aurora in Denver. Why do you think they were there? They were there to pick out the top people, pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, put them in a training class for the defense industry, and drag them out of school. That's what happened. Nobody needed the lower level tier people. Nobody needed those people. And I didn't know this stuff until way later on. Way later on. Until I found an actual old colonel that I was actually dealing with there. And I found out he was teaching at the school. And then I found out why he was teaching at the school. It made all the sense in the world. They didn't want the top performers. They wanted the top people who had potential. The top people who actually could be turned into something. That's what they were looking for. Because the top performers were top performers in what they was top performing in. You drug them off to another situation, they fell apart. I seen that shit. Real time. Real time. Saw it. Real time. Well, if you gave a small town dude some actual ability to actually move up, and they were the only one in their family who could be able to move up, they never had the actual potential and ability, but they was giving it to them. And those people score higher than everybody else, even though they didn't have the aptitude to do so. That's what they was actually looking for. And the Antonio Browns cannot surf in and out of societies any longer because right now, most of these supervisors cannot waste their time on the Antonio Browns today. If you ever figured out why your ass was fired and you was one of the most highly producing individuals in your actual sector in the place that you was in, you wasn't able to be controlled by management. That's why they kicked your ass out the group. I learned that shit the hard way. They had no use for people who was highly productive, highly effective, highly competent in their job. If you could do that, then you could replace all of management. Why in the hell would they want your ass around if you can replace all of management? Management want to be there so that way they can have people they can manage. I have older cousins who are higher management level in the Seattle Seahawks organization. These individuals tell me all the time it's not about the highest producing people. It's about the lowest producing people who they can lean on to actually turn around and turn their failures into successes for themselves throughout the organization. You don't believe me? Look at the Cleveland Browns. Once they started managing those draft picks like everybody else did, they had the same success that everybody else did. So you have to understand that when people claim to be chose and all this other stuff, they're hiring people so that way they can maintain their position. So when they hire weak ass men to give them kids to have control over the community, what do you think that's based on? That's based on the simple fact that they can have control over the community. They can hold over the heads of the next generation of people as if they didn't pick these people specifically for the circumstance that they can actually turn around and hold their level of position over the heads of people that they dearly know that don't have a chance. Think about it. Denver Nuggets been there since what 98, since I came back from overseas over there. I've been there that long. We wasn't really trying for no damn championship squad. They was trying to field a team that could actually get the home team destroyed. They could get enough people in seats to field the next group of people who's going to be complaining about the upper management. And then the upper management is fighting against each other. And then the same shit happens over and over and over and over again. I don't have to go over the draft picks that we had in Denver or the people that we drafted in on the Denver Nuggets that could have easily been a championship team. But if you know what the actual team goal is up front, you can stop believing in the team to succeed. You can stop believing in the team to actually succeed itself once you know what the actual point of the team is. If the point of the team is to repeatedly fail, then there is no way in the hell that you can expect success out of that group. The ABs get way too many chances in our society, man. They get way too many chances. So many chances that people who actually put the time in, the workout in, the proper diet in, they get no chances. And if AB actually looked at the actual people that he claimed that he wasn't getting the ball more than, that dude skipped over a lot of people. He skipped over a lot of people. But when it came time for him to be passed over and the ball needed to go to other people, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it at all. He could not handle it. When you put these people on your team, they're waiting for a reason to throw your ass under the bus. They're waiting for a reason to bring your dirty laundry out into the light. But only after they got everything they wanted to out of you after things are over. It wasn't while he was getting the ball. It wasn't while he was doing all this other stuff on the team. All this stuff came out after that he got everything out of this team that he could get and that he couldn't benefit no more. That's when all this other personal stuff comes out. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you hire these Antonio Browns onto your team. All the stuff that you thought there was glancing conversation is going to come out and be front and center that you got to answer for. That's what I'm saying, Vanna, that most of those people who witnessed this dude throughout his whole career would say that this is the same guy. But the other people who wanted to cover up for this guy, which seems to be a lot of people, said that these things were new to them, that they didn't notice these things. People notice what they want to notice when they want to notice them. This is why when you're dealing with people like Antonio Brown and people who cover up for him, these are the people who don't know how to set a standard, keep that actual standard, and keep people off the team who don't belong there. Dude, he wasn't even there that long. He wasn't even there that long before they got him off the team. He wasn't even there that long before they got him off the team. That's what I'm saying. Like most of these people who gave me the pushback throughout the week about, oh, it could be CTE issues. No, it could be a mental health issue. But at the end of the day, this fits right into the track record that this dude has always displayed to other people. I would say that his skill, comparable to that, have done the same thing. But it's not like that they have better people to actually turn towards in the league. Not name wise, but skill wise, they easily could have moved on to somebody else. But when you're dealing with people at this level who don't care about skills or ability and anything else, like the actual track record comes into play. None of these people actually want to even think about those things. Because why? They want their name to carry them everywhere. They want their association to carry them everywhere. And it could carry them over into your camp where you see this stuff isn't going to work out and it's going to destroy everything. There are countless players from the Denver Broncos that I've seen tried to make business moves outside of the Denver Bronco organization, went into complete disaster for every single reason why the shit didn't work out for them on the team of the Denver Broncos. Too many of those dudes. Same thing. Same problem. Couldn't work with the team. Couldn't deal with customers. Same problems. I'm just saying that you got to deal with equals. Once you get there, dude, you got to deal with equals. That's what part of being on top is about. Being on top is about dealing with equals. The only people who don't want to deal with equals are people who don't got anything to give. Outside of restaurants and car lots and strip clubs, nothing. What's wrong, Roosevelt? I don't even want to talk about that dude. I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, but these are the type of people who you're actually dealing with. You don't need these people around, man. You got way more better people that you actually graduated school with that are way better than these people. Way better people that you see sitting around in your actual classroom when you're actually going to college with. Those are your new set of friends. When you're going to school, those are going to be your new set of friends. Those are going to be your new set of business partners. Those are going to be the new set of people that you're going to be able to go to later on in life. You're not going to be able to turn to these type of dudes and actually be able to get your life straight. You can't because they ain't got their life straight. Because a lot of these people, their whole lives have been running from one situation to another, destroying other people's lives, man. You don't need these people. You don't need them. If they're nothing but physical labor, why on earth would intelligence come along with that? You could have been on and off the field. You could have been on and off in a career field that could have meant something, IT or healthcare or anything else, but you're in the league depending on personnel to give a damn about you in the media when they're only going to follow the best thing. Nah, man, don't do that with your life. Nobody is following Jamal Mashburn. That dude got way more money than Jordan, and Jordan sold way less shoes than Jamal Mashburn did. But you don't even know who Jamal Mashburn is. Most people don't even know who Jamal Mashburn is from Kentucky. But at the end of the day, it's all about aptitude. How are you going to apply yourself to the actual environment? That's what this thing is about. You have to apply yourself without these other people being around. You're going to have to do that. These household names come and go, but the wealth lives on forever. And that's what I'm saying. That you don't need the Antonio Browns. You don't need them weighing down your actual ability to move forward. Yeah, I mean he owns a bunch of franchises, a bunch of them. But at the end of the day, he wasn't that good of a basketball player, but he was a damn good as a business owner. But that's but see that's what you got to be outside of these sports. This is why I don't even endorse men being in sports right now. I endorse men being in the actual practical things like healthcare and science and technology. I think they should go overseas and get all that kind of talent to do that type of thing. Yeah, Vince Carter. Vince Carter is not a stupid dude either. But you know what the failure rate of people actually being in these sports are? It is awful high. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Listen, man. I know about all these names. I keep up with them. But you have to make sure that you're never going to get there as an owner taking care of the Antonio Browns of the world. That's the point. The point is you can move on to better players. I watched the Dream Team documentary like 2 days straight, and all those players on that team were Hall of Famers except for two dudes. I think Chris Mullins and another guy. But the stories that they told about the things that was going on the floor was great. All these things can be accomplished if you left the Antonio Browns out of your life. Period. You don't need them. And the Antonio Browns are going to climb up the back of every single person who's here to put themselves on top. And even if they don't get on top, and they don't get their chance, they're gonna rip your ass to pieces the moment that they don't get what they want out of your ass. Now he's not in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't shit after that team. He was a rookie, I believe. But he couldn't get noticed not on the team like that. He couldn't get noticed on a team like that. But that's what I'm saying. That our culture actually teaches us to actually take up for it and actually bend over backwards to actually put those dudes on teams when they don't deserve their coleslaw. Like that's the thing. Like we don't need these type of people around, man. And when you start getting your stuff together, there's going to be older black people who's going to try to take your ass down. Older people who know better, who's trying to snuff out your actual success. People who know where you're going, but they want to actually control what your actual success is actually worth. The moment they see your ass moving a little bit too fast, they're going to try to put their ass in your circle. It's very clear. These people are going to do that. The least inept people are going to want the highest amount of leadership within your organization to guide it directly into failure. It is not even about Antonio Brown. It's about all these other loose lip people around this place. Can't defend anything, no track record, trying to get you to believe in a failed ass concepts, no rationale of where these things are actually going to go. This is what is going to happen. But you got to be smart enough to make sure that you're not falling into that trap of believing these people's sob stories. You think Antonio Brown ain't working the phones of every defensive lineman, every defensive tackle, every wide receiver he ever been around, been across, been by throughout his whole career? You think he's not working those phones? Of course he is. That's how he got to Tom Brady. Same thing. You got to let these people fail. You got to let them die off. Can't help them succeed, man. Cannot let this person be around. You gotta let them. You gotta let them fail. Period. If he actually wanted this place in the league, he would have actually been the person who would have appreciated this stuff years ago. But if you're not thankful and if you're not worth it, you'll just expect it from everybody, and that's what this dude's whole career was about. Expecting it from everybody. I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna get into that. So if they would have released him right away, what do you think would have happened? All these people who were like came in wanted to find an angry player with an axe to grind. That guy would have been on somebody else's team catching balls the next week. That's how come they didn't release him right away. There's no need to release him right away. That's why they probably made sure that nobody was going to pick him up, which was the reason why they released him anyway. A lot of that stuff is in house. A lot of that stuff is in house. A lot more than you think of. A lot of that stuff is in house. Agreed upon before it actually happens. I mean, you can't defend any of those excuses. You can't defend how he got off the field. You can't defend the fact that he was injured before. No, like, dude, they won the game. They won the game without him. With somebody that they didn't give an actual chance to before he came to the team. This shit's over. Like this is not even an actual conversation at this point. They won the game. They came back and they won the game. Now, if they wouldn't have not won the game, they would have had an argument for bringing his ass back. But they won the game, dude. So there's really no reason for bringing his ass back. Period. But he was actually injured. I mean, he was on the injury report before the actual game came out. Like, you have to give the injury report to the press before you actually go out there and play. They already know what this stuff is. So it's not like they didn't know he was injured. They just didn't know to what extent, and the coach kind of lied about he didn't know that he was injured at all, which is pretty stupid because the head coach has those lists before they even go out to the media. The actual head coach check off on the list before they actually go to the media. So I'm not sure why they even let the dude get away with even saying that. So with that said, I'm just saying this, man. Move on without these losers, man. You're gonna find better people, better dedicated people already on your team who's gonna move up when that person steps down. That's why they have such a big ass roster. So that way people can step up into that shit. You ain't got to keep messing around with loser ass dudes who keep getting chances after chances that they don't deserve. You don't need that. And we as a coaches have never been taught to just move beyond problematic ass people. They like problematic people around because it helps them out with keeping the controversy afoot. Man, dude, listen, man, like a person who give a damn about things working, we don't care about keeping controversy afoot. We care about things working. There's no way they was gonna cut Antonio Brown right away, and that dude ended up on the Super Bowl team before the Super Bowl. Ain't nobody gonna do that. Why would they do that? Unless they had clear focus across the entire league that nobody's picking this dude up. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about that. If that was the case, it would have brought Rice ass back. So, with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for coming through. You guys have a really nice day.